Every single morning is a door, a quiet door, a powerful door. A door that most people walk past without ever realizing what it leads to. It is a new chance, a new beginning, a clean moment where the past has no authority unless you give it permission. No matter what went wrong yesterday, no matter how heavy the night felt, the morning hands you another opportunity to reset your mind, refocus your direction, and rebuild your life from the inside out. But here's what most people never stop to understand. The way you start your morning is not small. It is not neutral. It is not meaningless. It is training. It is conditioning. It is programming. How you wake up trains your mind. And how your mind is trained determines how you live your life. The morning is not just the first part of the day. It is where your mindset is formed. It is where your emotional state is set. It is where your focus is either sharpened or scattered before the world ever touches you. And this is where the problem begins. Most people wake up already behind, already reactive, already distracted. They open their eyes and immediately hand their mind over to stress, to yesterday, to notifications, to other people's problems, to fear, to comparison, and to noise. Before they even sit up, their peace is gone, their clarity is gone, their power is gone. Not because life took it from them, but because they never claimed it. Those first minutes after you wake up are the most important mental moments of your entire day. Your mind is open, it is impressionable, it is vulnerable. Whatever enters during that time gains momentum. And that momentum follows you into your choices, your reactions, your conversations, and your behavior. That is why some days feel heavy before they even begin. That is why stress feels automatic. That is why focus feels difficult. That is why so many people feel like life is controlling them instead of the other way around. But here is the truth that changes everything. If you can't learn to take control of your mind every morning before the world pulls at you, before pressure takes over, before distractions flood your attention, you can change the direction of your entire life. Not through luck, not through waiting, not through motivation that fades, but through awareness, discipline, and simple daily mental practices that build strength over time. This is not about becoming perfect. It is not about having stress-free days. It is about building a mind that does not collapse under pressure. A mind that stays calm in chaos. A mind that remains focused when things get hard. A mind that refuses to quit when life tests you. When you build that kind of mind, everything else begins to change. Your decisions become clearer. Your reactions become calmer. Your confidence becomes quieter but stronger. And your life starts moving in a different direction. Today, you are not just listening to words, you are stepping into a process that has the power to reshape how you wake up, how you think, how you respond to stress, and how you carry yourself through the world. What you are about to hear are not ideas meant to sound good. They are not motivational phrases meant to fade. They are practical mental tools. Principles that, when practiced every morning, begin to rewire your thinking and rebuild your inner foundation. There are 12 of them, 12 lessons, 12 disciplines, 12 ways to train your mind before the world tries to train it for you. If you practice them consistently, they will build a strong mind, a disciplined mind, a focused mind, a peaceful mind, and most importantly, a resilient mind. A mind that keeps moving forward even when motivation disappears. But this only works if you listen with intention. This is not background noise. This is not something you half hear while scrolling. Every word matters because every lesson builds on the one before it. Miss one, and the structure weakens. Stay through all of them, and you begin to understand why your mornings have more power than you ever realized. The first lesson begins the moment your eyes open. Before you reach for your phone, before you replay yesterday, before anxiety starts speaking. You begin with gratitude, not forced gratitude, not fake positivity, real awareness. You take a breath and acknowledge one simple truth. You are alive. You are here. You made it to another day. That is not small. That is strength. Gratitude changes the state of your mind immediately. It shifts your attention from what is missing to what already exists. It turns tension into presence. It turns pressure into clarity. It reminds your mind that progress is still possible even when life feels imperfect. Gratitude builds stability. A grateful mind is harder to shake. It does not panic at obstacles. It prepares for them. It does not collapse under pressure. It adapts. When you begin your morning with gratitude, you train your mind to look for strength instead of weakness. You become less reactive, more grounded, more intentional. Over time, This practice reshapes how you think, how you speak, and how you move through challenges. A grateful heart builds a powerful mind. And a powerful mind is where discipline begins. The second lesson is learning to speak to yourself before your mind starts speaking for you. If you do not take control of your inner voice, your fears will, your doubts will, your past experiences will. Confidence does not appear by accident. Motivation does not knock politely. They are built through command and action. When you wake up, you speak with intention. You tell your mind the truth before it has a chance to lie to you. You say, I am capable, I am disciplined, I am focused, I am becoming better every day. These are not empty words, they are instructions. Your mind listens to repetition. What you tell yourself daily becomes your mental framework. And that framework shapes how you see the world. If the first voice you hear in the morning is your own voice speaking strength instead of doubt, clarity instead of fear, direction instead of confusion, the entire tone of the day changes. You do not drift into life. You step into it with purpose. Over time, this builds emotional stability, self-trust, and mental discipline. Before moving further, take a second to recognize this. If you stop listening now, you go back to waking up the same way, reacting, rushing, scattered. But if you stay, you will begin to understand how each morning can become a training ground instead of a battlefield. The next lesson is protecting your peace before you allow the world to enter your space. This means you do not immediately grab your phone. You do not scroll. You do not check messages or headlines. You give your mind a moment of silence, a moment of stillness, a moment to breathe. The world is loud. Everyone wants your attention. But your mind cannot function clearly when it is immediately flooded with noise, urgency, and comparison. Protecting your peace is not avoidance. It is discipline. It is choosing to stabilize your inner world before engaging with the outer one. Even a few minutes of quiet allows your nervous system to reset. Your thoughts slow down. Space opens between stimulus and response. And in that space, clarity begins to form. When your day starts in calm instead of chaos, you think better. You react less emotionally. You move with purpose instead of pressure. And this is just the beginning. Because if you think these first lessons already feel powerful, what comes next will challenge how you see discipline, movement, focus, courage, patience, and faith. The next part is where momentum starts to build. Where your mornings stop being accidental and start becoming intentional. Stay with this. The strongest shifts happen when you least expect them. If you have stayed this far, understand something important. You are already doing what most people never do. You are slowing down long enough to let truth reach you, and that alone is a sign that your mind is ready for change. Because real transformation does not begin with action, it begins with awareness. And awareness is what your morning must be built on. The next lesson is movement. This is where many people disconnect the body from the mind. But they are not separate. When your body wakes up, your mind wakes up with it. When your body stays heavy, stiff, and still after waking, your thoughts follow that same pattern. Sluggish body, sluggish mind, scattered energy, low focus. Movement in the morning is not about intensity. It is about activation. It is a signal. When you stretch, when you walk, when you loosen your joints, when you breathe deeply, you break inertia. You create momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful forces you can generate at the start of the day. You do not need a full workout. You need intention. Even a few minutes of movement tells your nervous system that the day has begun. It tells your mind that you are not drifting. You are engaging. You are awake. You are present. And once momentum starts, everything becomes easier to carry forward. The next lesson separates people who change from people who stay stuck. Choosing discipline over motivation. Motivation is emotional. It comes and goes. It depends on how you feel. Discipline does not ask how you feel. Discipline acts because it is committed. Every morning you make a choice. You either wait to feel ready or you decide to move anyway. Motivation may start something, but discipline finishes it. Discipline builds confidence because every completed action reinforces trust in yourself. Discipline builds resilience because it trains you to stay consistent under pressure, fatigue, and doubt. Over time, discipline becomes identity. You no longer need to convince yourself to act. You act because that is who you are. A disciplined mind does not look for perfect conditions. It creates them. It does not search for excuses. It focuses on execution. And this is where many people fail without realizing it. They feed their bodies but starve their minds. What you consume mentally in the morning matters just as much as what you consume physically. Your first mental input sets your direction for the entire day. If the first thing you feed your mind is negativity, gossip, fear, drama, or endless scrolling, your thoughts will reflect that. Confusion creates confusion. Fear creates hesitation. Chaos creates scattered thinking. But if you feed your mind strength, it produces confidence. If you feed it purpose, it produces direction. If you feed it growth, it produces progress. Read something that expands you. Listen to something that sharpens your thinking. Reflect on something meaningful that reminds you who you are becoming. Your mind becomes what you repeatedly feed it. And a well-fed mind is focused, prepared, and resilient. Now here is where things begin to shift even deeper. Direction. Most people live in reaction mode. They let the day decide how their energy is used. They respond to urgency instead of purpose. And by the end of the day, they feel exhausted but unfulfilled. Every morning you must decide your direction. Not everything, just what matters most. Ask yourself what deserves your focus today. What one action moves your life forward even slightly? Clarity does not come from doing more. It comes from knowing what matters. When your day begins with intention, distractions lose their power. You protect your time better. You stay grounded when pressure rises. A mind with purpose is difficult to shake. It adapts without losing direction. But none of this works if you keep carrying yesterday into today. This is the next lesson. Letting go. Most people wake up with a weight of past mistakes, regrets, and disappointments already sitting on their chest. And that weight drains the day before it even begins. Yesterday is over. It cannot be changed. Replaying it only steals energy from the present moment. Learn from it, then release it. Carry the lesson, not the burden. Every morning is a reset, a chance to act differently, think differently, move differently. When you release the past, you create space. Space for clarity, space for focus, space for growth. And growth cannot happen when your mind is trapped in what no longer exists. If you are still listening, understand this. The deeper you go, the more responsibility you take for your inner world. And responsibility is power. The next lesson is patience with yourself. Real change does not happen overnight. Progress is built through repetition. Becoming stronger is a process, not a moment. Every morning, remind yourself that growth takes time. You are allowed to move step by step. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to make mistakes without turning them into self-judgment. Patience creates stability, and patience creates pressure. Being patient does not mean being passive. It means staying committed without being cruel to yourself. Gentle in how you speak to yourself. Firm in how you show up. When patience and discipline work together, progress becomes sustainable. And sustainable growth is what changes lives. But growth requires something most people avoid. Courage. Comfort feels safe, but comfort keeps you where you are. Comfort repeats cycles. Courage breaks them. Every morning, your mind will try to pull you back into what feels familiar. Old habits, old fears, old thinking. Courage is choosing to move forward anyway. Courage is stepping into discomfort. Courage is taking action even when fear is present. Fear does not disappear, you move despite it. And when courage becomes a daily practice, your capacity expands, your confidence grows, your life opens. Now listen closely, because the next part is where many people begin to resist. Protecting your environment. Your mind cannot grow in toxic surroundings. Every environment leaves a mark. Over time, those marks become beliefs. Pay attention to influences your thinking. Whose voices you allow into your space. Not everyone deserves access to your attention. Boundaries are not punishment, they are protection. When your environment aligns with who you are becoming, progress accelerates naturally. And this leads into the final and most grounding lesson: trust. Trust in God. Trust in timing. Trust in the process. Every morning, release what you cannot control. Let go of the need to rush. Let go of the need to have all the answers. Trust that what is unfolding is not random. Trust that character is being built even when results are slow. Trust that preparation often happens in silence before opportunity appears. When you begin your morning with trust instead of tension, your mind becomes lighter, your heart becomes calmer, your spirit becomes stronger. And if you think this is where it ends, it is not. Because the final part brings everything together. It explains why these lessons are not optional, why mornings are a battleground, and why mastering them changes everything. Stay here. The most important shift is still coming. If you are still here, this is where everything begins to come together. because now you understand something most people never fully accept. These lessons are not ideas. They are not suggestions. They are not optional habits for people with extra time. They are foundations. And without foundations, nothing strong can stand for long. What you do every morning is shaping you whether you are aware of it or not. You are either building your mind or weakening it. You are either training discipline or reinforcing distraction. There is no neutral morning. Every morning is doing something to you. This is why the morning is so powerful. Your mind is at its most unguarded state. Before logic fully wakes up, before habits lock in, before the world starts demanding from you, that is when influence is strongest. That is when patterns are formed. That is when your inner direction is set. If you do not take control in those moments, something else will. Your phone will. Your stress will. Your past will. Other people's expectations will. And once your mind is pulled in 10 directions, it becomes difficult to bring it back. This is why so many people feel busy but not fulfilled. Why they feel tired even on easy days. Why they feel like they are always reacting instead of creating. They never claim their morning. And because of that, they never fully claim their power. A strong life cannot be built on weak mornings. A calm future cannot be built on chaotic starts. Confidence cannot grow in a mind that wakes up scattered and unprepared. If you want stability in your life, it must begin with stability in your morning. This is where most people misunderstand discipline. They think it is about forcing yourself. It is not. It is about deciding once instead of negotiating every day. When your morning routine becomes familiar, discipline becomes lighter. Strength becomes natural. Confidence becomes instinct. Your mind learns what to expect from you. And when it knows you will show up consistently, resistance loses its power. One strong morning can shift an entire day. One focused day can change a week. One disciplined week can reshape a month. And one intentional month can change the direction of a life. But none of that happens by accident. It happens because you took responsibility for how your day begins. When you give your morning to clarity, gratitude, discipline, and faith, your life slowly begins to reflect those same qualities. Not perfectly, but steadily. A strong mind does not mean you never feel stress. It does not mean you never feel tired or overwhelmed. A strong mind means you refuse to stay down. You refuse to quit. You refuse to let negative thoughts have the final word. You may bend, but you do not break. You may struggle, but you continue. You may fall, but you rise again with awareness. And this is why these morning practices matter so much. They prepare you before life tests you. They give you stability before pressure hits. They give you clarity before confusion tries to take over. When your mind is strong, challenges feel manageable. Obstacles feel solvable. Uncertainty feels less threatening. You stop reacting emotionally to every situation. You start responding wisely. That level of emotional control does not appear randomly. It is trained, built, reinforced. Every single morning, understand this clearly. The morning is not just about doing things. It is about becoming someone. You are shaping a version of yourself that does not fold under pressure. A version that stays calm when life becomes unpredictable. A version that continues moving forward even when circumstances are not ideal. That version of you is not created through motivation. It is built through consistency, through repetition, through the decision to show up for yourself even on the days you do not feel like it. And those days will come. There will be mornings when your mind feels heavy, when stress tries to take control, when doubt speaks loudly, when the weight of life feels overwhelming. Those are the mornings that matter most. It is easy to feel strong on good days. Anyone can do that. Real strength is revealed on difficult days. And your morning mindset is what gives you the capacity to endure them without losing yourself. When your morning is grounded, your reactions change. Small inconveniences stop controlling your mood. Negative people stop draining your energy. External problems stop dictating your inner state. You become centered, calm, aligned, and that changes how life responds to you. Now listen carefully, because this is the reward most people never reach. When you master your morning, you stop living on autopilot. You stop surviving. You stop giving your power away to pressure, people, and problems. You begin creating instead of reacting. Creating peace. Creating focus. Creating direction. Creating strength. Your morning becomes your training ground, your mental gym, your spiritual anchor, the place where you reconnect with yourself, with purpose, and with God before the world interrupts. This is often the only time when life is quiet enough to hear your own thoughts, to hear truth, to hear guidance, to realign with what actually matters. And when your mindset rises, your life follows. When your mindset is weak, everything feels heavy. When it is scattered, everything feels confusing. When it is negative, everything feels overwhelming. But when it is strong, life feels manageable. Challenges feel possible. Progress feels within reach. That is why you cannot afford to wake up and immediately scroll, immediately compare, immediately stress. You cannot afford to start your day in reaction mode. You must start your day creating, and this leads to a truth that changes how you see yourself. You do not wake up by accident. You wake up because there is more for you. You wake up because your growth is not finished. You wake up because purpose is still calling. God did not give you another morning by mistake. Do not waste it. Rise with intention. Rise with clarity. Rise with discipline. Rise with faith. Rise knowing that today is another opportunity to become stronger, wiser, and more grounded than yesterday. Your mind is the architect of your destiny. Your thoughts are the seeds of your future. Your decisions are the builders of your path. And every morning you are given the chance to design the life you are meant to live. Peace does not come later, it begins in the mind. Strength does not appear randomly, it is built mentally. Confidence is not luck, it is trained. Discipline is not personality, it is practice. And it all begins when you wake up. If you are still listening, understand this clearly. Most people quit early. Most people look for shortcuts. Most people are not willing to sit with truth long enough to let it change them, but you stayed. And that says something about who you are becoming. The final part brings this commitment home. It turns understanding into declaration, awareness into action, and intention into identity. Do not stop now. The closing matters more than you think. If you have made it this far, pause for a moment and recognize what just happened. You did not just listen. You stayed present. You stayed open. You allowed your mind to be challenged instead of entertained. And that alone separates you from most people. Most people want change, but they do not want responsibility. They want results, but not repetition. They want growth, but not discipline. That is why so many lives stay the same year after year. Not because people are incapable, but because they never change how they wake up. This is where everything becomes real. Building your mind every morning is not a routine. It is a declaration. It is a decision that you refuse to live on autopilot. A decision that you refuse to stay in survival mode. A decision that you will no longer give your power away to problems, pressure, or other people's expectations. Nothing in your life changes unless your mindset changes first. Nothing rises if your mind stays low. Every morning is a battleground. The moment you wake up, your doubts wake up, your excuses wake up, your fears wake up. The question is not whether they will be there. The question is whether you will be stronger than they are. If you do not take control of your morning, the world will take control for you. It will decide your mood, your focus, your energy, your direction. You will spend the rest of the day reacting instead of leading yourself. You cannot build a strong life with weak mornings. You cannot build peace with chaotic starts. You cannot build confidence with a mind that is unfocused and unprepared. Your morning is your training ground. It is where mental strength is built. Just like muscles grow through repetition, your mindset strengthens through consistent practice. Discipline becomes easier when it becomes familiar. Confidence becomes natural when it is reinforced daily. This is why protecting your morning is not selfish. It is necessary. It is often the only time in the day when the world is quiet enough for you to hear yourself, to hear truth, to hear God, to realign with purpose without interruption. When you build your morning with intention, your life begins to reflect that same intention. Slowly, steadily, powerfully. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to stay calm under pressure. You begin to move forward even when motivation disappears. You begin to trust yourself because you prove to yourself every morning that you will show up. And here is the reward most people never reach. When you master your mornings, you stop feeling lost. You stop feeling constantly behind. You stop feeling controlled by circumstances. You develop a quiet confidence, a grounded strength, a steady peace that does not depend on how the day unfolds. You become someone who can walk through uncertainty without panic. Someone who can face challenges without collapsing. Someone who carries clarity in confusion and faith in pressure. That is the kind of person who builds a meaningful life. You are not here by accident. You stayed because something in you is ready to rise, ready to grow, ready to become more disciplined, more focused, and more intentional. So now, Make it real. Write this sentence for yourself. I build my mind every morning, not for attention, not for anyone else, for you. Because when you put it into words, you reinforce it in your mind. That sentence becomes a marker of who you are becoming. And if one of these lessons stood out to you, decide right now how your morning will change. Not tomorrow, not someday. Today. Even one small shift practiced daily can change everything over time. This is not a channel for everyone. It is for those who want to rise with intention, live with purpose, and build strength from the inside out. Stay connected, return daily. Protect your mornings like your future depends on it. Because it does. Remember this. Only you decide how disciplined you become. Only you decide how focused your mind will be. Only you decide how strong, calm, and grounded you are willing to grow. Your mind builds your life. So build it with purpose, with truth, with discipline, with faith, and do it every morning. You are more capable than you realize, more powerful than you believe, and more limitless than you have ever been told. Only you decide how far you rise, and now let this settle in fully. This is not about becoming someone new overnight. This is about returning to who you were always meant to be before the noise, before the pressure, before life taught you to rush, react, and doubt yourself. The discipline you build in the morning does not make you rigid. It makes you free. Free from emotional chaos. Free from constant stress. Free from the feeling that life is always controlling you. When you build your mind every morning, something quiet but powerful begins to happen. You stop feeling like you are chasing life. You stop waking up with that invisible weight on your chest. You stop carrying anxiety into moments that do not deserve it. You begin to feel steady, grounded, present. Your thoughts slow down. Your reactions soften. Your confidence becomes calm instead of loud. You no longer need to prove yourself to everyone because you are no longer questioning yourself internally. That is what a trained mind gives you, inner stability. This is what most people think they are searching for when they chase success, approval, or validation. But none of those things fix an untrained mind. A strong life is not built by doing more. It is built by thinking clearly, responding wisely, and staying centered when things do not go as planned. The mornings you build now will shape the version of you that shows up later. The one who handles pressure differently. The one who does not panic when things go wrong. The one who does not fall apart when plans change. The one who keeps moving forward even when the road feels uncertain. That version of you is built quietly, privately, early in the day when no one is watching. And this is important to understand. Discipline in the morning does not remove difficulty from life. It prepares you to face it without losing yourself. It gives you the strength to carry responsibility without resentment, to face challenges without fear controlling your decisions. You begin to trust yourself more, because every morning you prove something to your own mind. You prove that you can show up, that you can choose clarity over chaos, that you can choose intention over impulse, and that self-trust changes everything. When you trust yourself, decisions become easier, boundaries become firmer, focus becomes sharper. You stop second-guessing every move. You stop seeking constant reassurance. You move forward with quiet confidence. Over time, this compounds. Your days feel different, your weeks feel more productive but less exhausting, your months begin to reflect growth instead of repetition. And one day, you look back and realize your life changed not because of one big moment, but because you mastered many small mornings. This is how real transformation happens, not in dramatic breakthroughs, but in consistent discipline. Not in perfect routines, but in intentional choices, not in motivation, but in commitment. And here is the truth most people never hear clearly. You do not need more time. You do not need perfect conditions. You do not need to wait until life slows down. You need to decide that your mind matters enough to be trained daily. 5 minutes of intention is better than an hour of distraction. One clear thought is better than 1,000 scattered ones. One disciplined action is better than endless planning, and it all begins when you wake up. So when the alarm goes off tomorrow, remember this moment. Remember that you chose to listen. Remember that you chose awareness. Remember that you chose growth. And let that choice guide your first thoughts, your first actions, your first words. Do not rush. Do not scroll. Do not react. Breathe. Be grateful. Speak strength. Protect your peace. Move your body. Choose discipline. Feed your mind. Set direction. Release yesterday. Practice patience. Choose courage, guard your environment, trust God, trust timing, trust the process. You do not need to do it perfectly. You just need to do it consistently. Because consistency builds identity, and identity builds destiny. You are not meant to live exhausted, distracted, and disconnected from yourself. You are meant to live grounded, focused, clear, strong, calm under pressure, present in your own life. That is what these mornings give you. So take them seriously, protect them fiercely, build them intentionally. Your future self is depending on what you do when you wake up. And remember this above all else, you are not late. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are learning. You are building. You are becoming. And every morning you get another chance to rise. This is where everything comes full circle. Because now you see it clearly. Your life is not shaped by one decision. It is shaped by repeated decisions. And the most important repeated decision you make is how you begin each day. Most people wake up and give their power away without realizing it. They give it to stress. They give it to distraction. They give it to the past. They give it to other people's expectations. And then they wonder why they feel tired, unfocused, and disconnected from themselves. But you are choosing something different. You are choosing to build your mind instead of neglecting it. You are choosing intention instead of accident, awareness instead of autopilot, discipline instead of excuses. And that choice, repeated every morning, changes everything. You begin to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. You stop letting circumstance control your inner state. You stop letting emotions dictate your direction. You stop allowing fear to make decisions for you. You become steady, not because life becomes easy, but because you become stronger. You begin to notice that problems no longer shake you the way they used to. Pressure does not overwhelm you as quickly. Delays do not frustrate you as deeply. You still feel emotions, but you are no longer ruled by them. That is the power of a trained mind. You stop chasing peace because you carry it. You stop waiting for confidence because you build it. You stop hoping for clarity because you create it. Every morning before the world gets loud. This is what freedom actually looks like. Not the absence of responsibility, but the ability to handle it without losing yourself. Not a perfect life, but a grounded mind that can move through an imperfect one with strength and purpose. And here is something important to remember. This path is quiet. There is no applause for waking up early, no recognition for choosing discipline over comfort, no reward in the moment for protecting your peace. But the reward shows up later in how you think, in how you respond, in how you carry yourself, in how you handle challenges that once would have broken you. One day, you will face a moment that would have overwhelmed the old version of you, and you will realize that you are calm, focused, clear, and capable. That is when you will understand the mornings did this, the small moments of gratitude, the quiet discipline, the repeated choices, the patience, the courage, the trust. All of it added up. This is why you cannot treat your mornings casually. They are shaping the person you are becoming. They are either reinforcing weakness or building strength. They are either feeding distraction or creating clarity. You decide which one it is. So when you wake up tomorrow, do not rush past the opportunity. Do not waste it on noise. Do not give it away to habits that leave you empty. Sit with yourself, breathe, be grateful, speak strength, move with intention, choose discipline, feed your mind, set direction, release the past, practice patience, step into courage, guard your environment, trust God, trust timing, trust the process. Not because it is easy, but because it works. You do not need to change your whole life today. You only need to change how you begin it, because when your mornings change, your mindset changes. When your mindset changes, your decisions change. And when your decisions change, your life follows. This is how strong people are built, quietly, consistently, daily. You are not weak. You are untrained. And training begins the moment you wake up. So rise with intention, rise with discipline, rise with faith, rise knowing that every morning is another chance to build the mind that builds the life you want. You are not here by accident. You are here because you are ready, and only you decide how limitless you become. Do like and subscribe our channel.